We live in a world where the default setting is always male. Men have no idea how much happier they would be living and working in a world that was designed equally by all of us.
So we're in a dilemma. Every time we're assertive, we're considered bitches. I know I've experienced this in my life. And when we're uber likable, we're seen as being weak. How do we fix this? What do we do about this?
Well, what I would say to that, Carrie, is that first of all, we are in a double bind when it comes to the question you've just asked. Years and years ago, a study was done on women in the workplace, which identified, unsurprisingly, that, when we behave as we would naturally like to, we are seen as weak, ineffectual, feminine.
Yes.
But when we behave like the men do, we are then seen as domineering, aggressive bitches. So in that scenario, my recommendation to women is always be the bitch. And I don't mean that literally, because there is no excuse for bad behavior in whatever your gender. But what I mean by that is, being what gets you called a bitch will get you much more of what you want than fading charmingly and ineffectually into the wallpaper.
So you just have to default and be the bitch sometimes?
What I've been telling my employees for years, including my management team when I was running BBH New York, including my employees now at MakeLoveNotPorn, is it is far better to be respected and not necessarily liked than liked and not necessarily respected. Yes, people may really have a good time with you down the pub. People may really enjoy hanging out with you. But at the end of the day, when you are doing what it takes to be respected and not necessarily liked, then people are enormously reassured that they are working with or for somebody who, when times are tough, will absolutely take the helm and get them through that. And that is worth a great deal more, and that is far more likable than somebody who might be frightfully jolly to hang out with, but will not be there as a leader when the chips are down. It is always better to be respected than to be liked.
Now, you mentioned BBH before. I know when we talked about this for my book, we talked about how when you were there, you didn't really experience so much of sexism in the workplace. And one of the things you said really fascinated me. You said, a fish doesn't know what water is. Talk to me a little bit about that.
Exactly, because it's not true I didn't experience sexism. It was all around me, but I didn't realize it. Because a fish does not know what water is. When you are coming up, in business, as I was back in the 80s, you are living in an absolutely sexist and biased world. But that's the way it is. And the depressing thing is that for a lot of women, that is still the way it is. And they don't realize, that all around them are things that should not be happening and should not be happening to them.
Do we break down the boys' club, spend our time to break down the boys' club, or do we just build our own club?
I would say the answer is neither of those. Okay. I mean, we certainly absolutely do not need to waste time and effort breaking down the boys' club and trying to get into it. That's, my personal philosophy is never waste your time banging your head against closed doors. Instead, engineer yourself into a position where doors open automatically as you approach. The solution is not then to build our own club. The solution is simply to, design the world that we want to live in. Because when we do that, the men will desperately want to be a part of that as well. What I urge women to do is to, don't worry about what you think the business world laid out before you looks like. Stop and ask yourself, what would make you happy? And design that. And just start doing it, whether that is your own business or your own way of living. And you'll be amazed how many people will be drawn to somebody who is doing things differently and enabling others to do things differently, because people really want to do things differently, but a lot of people need somebody else to show them how they can do that.
And what do you think keeps us from just doing what we want, living the life we want, building this type of world? What holds us back from that?
Social conditioning is such that from the moment we're born, we are set on tracks where everything around us conspires to make us feel that there are things that we should do. And we feel there are things we should do because it also conspires to make us worry enormously about what people will think of us if we don't. And, I always say that the single best moment in my life, and this wasn't a moment, this was a gradual realization, but was the moment when I realized that I no longer give a damn what anybody else thinks. And that is the only way to live your life, not giving a damn what anybody else thinks. So, for example, I am deliberately very public about the fact that I have never wanted to be married, never seen that as an end goal.
Yeah.
I've never wanted children.
Yeah.
I date younger men.
Yeah.
I'm open about all of this. And by the way, not because I'm saying everyone else should do what I do, but because we don't have enough role models in our society, for both women and for men, that demonstrate you can live your life very differently to the way society expects you to and still be quite extraordinarily happy.
Cindy, I just have to thank you as an agency owner. I remember when you talked about starting your own agencies and women starting their own agencies, going out and build something that you want to build. I find it to be such an inspiring message for women like me, and maybe women who are sitting in an agency today who realize that maybe they could go do their own thing. How do you get them to take the first step?
First of all, there's a very low risk way to start, which is to simply identify what it is that you would do. Okay, so I say to everyone, take a long hard look around you at your industry, and this applies, by the way, whatever industry you work in, and identify what you think is missing, that you think should be there. What has nobody yet done that you could bring to the table? What would you love there to exist that you could make exist? Okay, so identify the gap in the market, and there will be plenty of them in any industry where the default setting is male. So apply the female lens, apply the diverse lens, because everything I'm talking about when it comes to diversity is about diversity of everything.
Yes.
Gender, race, ethnicity, disability, sexuality, age. And then begin road testing that idea. And you can absolutely do that alongside your existing job.
Yes.
So you don't have to jump ship immediately. You can start a blog. You can start a side hustle. You can begin putting your ideas out there on social media, seeing what kind of response you get. Because, by articulating your point of view around this, you will draw people to you who are interested in it. You will get great feedback. You begin building your future audience, your community right then and there. And, depending on what way you do that in, you can build up a community that is ready and waiting to buy into whatever it is you start when you finally officially start it.
Amazing. Well, you are one woman that I am so happy that I got a chance to talk to today. I feel so inspired and energized by you. And I and all of the women who get to watch you are just so grateful for you.
Thank you very much.